up? It's Raphael with NBA Draft Junkies, and today I have another guest. If you remember, I opened the floor for some of my followers or subscribers or anybody that's watching the channel to come on and be a guest to talk about their big board. I wanted to use my site or my YouTube channel as a platform for other quote-unquote NBA Draft Junkies to have an opportunity to just, give their thoughts and opinions on the players in this 2020 class. And my guest today is Payne Sisson. What's up, Payne?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
All good. It's a little early in the morning here, so if I look
definitely.
a little tired, that's because I was up all night working and then had to get up for this. But thank you for coming on.
Oh, yeah, no
all right.
problem.
Yeah, so let's get right into it. So you sent me your big board.
Mm-hmm.
And you have Anthony Edwards as the number one ranked player on your big board.
So I think Anthony Edwards is I think he's just overwhelmed with talent, and I think he's a lot like Andrew Wiggins. I think they're different, but I think that's a solid comparison. Yeah, also because they're both very talented and they have a similar kind of play style, but those are both guys who I think are very low motor, and have defensive tools, but are not always engaged and don't always have the winning mindset. You see Wiggins out in Minnesota, where he was. Now he's in Golden State, and they weren't winning games. But you see Anthony Edwards at Georgia didn't have a great season, although they had a pretty solid team. Although a lot of people said it. I didn't think it was as great and as talented as usual years.
Would you feel comfortable taking him number one if you're Minnesota, considering you just finished the Andrew Wiggins era, and now you're taking a player who you think is somewhat similar as far as low motor, high talent?
That's a good point. I just think, this year is not nearly as bad as a lot of people like to say it is. It's a good draft. A lot of guys who are very good players. A lot of guys like Robert Woodard who can fall. Guys like Sadiq Bey, those guys that will fall and you can get them. And that's why I think, if you want to draft late first round, it's a great place to trade down to. But no, I think it's a very hard selection, and Minnesota's in a very tough spot. Right. I just think, I can't pass on that talent. I just can't do it. And I don't want if they want to trade down, that's fine. But if they're going to keep that pick, you got to take him because he's just that good.
All right.
For me.
So now number two is James Wiseman.
James Wiseman, yes.
So my question for you is, and I posed this question on another podcast. So Wiseman played 3 games, one against decent competition, and basically that was a half. And so are you basing this ranking off of everything that he did in high school and on the USA basketball circuit?
I think I just think we don't have a lot to use. So yes, I have to use a little bit of that with only those 3 games.
So certainly. Even if he didn't go to college, so if he never played a single minute of college, you would still have him as number 2?
I think I would have to. I think he might fall a little bit. I think it's a great point. I just think, I'm just looking who's behind him, and that's a very, he would not be number 2 in most other drafts. I think, I'm not, it's big board, so I'm not taking for fit. I just think he's that good. I just think he's got so much upside, and I think he'll be a solid guy day one too. I don't think he's that much of a pure prospect. I think he's good already.
So what do you think his ceiling is? If you had to compare him to a player, like what do you think his best case scenario is?
Best case scenario, I think he's I think I saw somebody compare to Giannis, and I won't go that far with it. But I think that he does. I don't know if he's going to be that much. To put it in better perspective, I think he's just going to be the equivalent jump shooter of Giannis. Not very good in general. But I think both guys like to take a lot of shots. I love the way he runs the floor. He runs like a gazelle. Right. It's amazing. It's breathtaking to watch a guy 7'1", just with huge arms, just sprint the floor, and he runs and strides great. And I just think he's very athletic. I love his wingspan. He's got good hands. And although the motor's not there, you just gotta take him that high. And I think if he can really use his athleticism and engage on the defensive end, which I think the defense is where he's lacking, although that's the kind of people like that as his potential. That's where his ceiling is. But I think that if he could be a shade of Giannis, that's great.
So I think his best case scenario would be like a Jermaine O'Neal type.
I like that's a good comparison. Yeah.
Jo is he probably won't make it as a Hall of Famer, but he had a nice career.
He did. Yeah,
Probably
he was
made
the best. He
almost
was
200 mil.
yeah.
Shot blocker. Went to the. Did he go to the finals in 2000? I think so.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was an all-star. I think that would be his best case scenario.
Yeah.
Very similar in a sense, as far as like where they were at the same age. Jo was really raw, but Jo worked.
Right.
He worked. And I think the best thing about Jermaine O'Neal's story that I heard, and I actually had a chance to speak with him and ask him about it. This was when he was in Portland. This is probably way before your time. But when he was in Portland, he was behind Brian Grant, Rasheed Wallace, and he wasn't playing at all.
I remember that, yes.
And how he was kind of discovered in a sense by the Pacers was Donnie Walsh came to like a game, and like one of the things, and I also do it myself if I have the opportunity. I'll go to an NBA game at like 5:00 and I watch the workouts, and you can see like all the young guys that aren't playing their pre-game workouts, and you see stuff
rituals,
that you don't that you don't normally see. Well, I think for the veteran players, it's more so like a ritual in a sense. And speaking of that, Giannis has the best I've ever seen. Like his pre-game workouts are as intense as the games. I mean, he has the coaches fouling him. He's driving, he's spinning, he's doing, everything he does in the game in a sense. And then he comes out and brings that same energy later on. But as far as like the young guys, like the guys that aren't playing, a lot of teams have their player development coaches working with those guys and just work. I mean, that's their game in a sense. Like they have to work out hard. I thought Portland's was good. That's why I wasn't really shocked with what Gary Trent was doing, because I saw that, a couple of the Blazers games I went to, he was going through some. He was knocking the ball down when he got an opportunity. So anyway, long story short, they said Jermaine was just knocking down mid-range J's consistently, and Donnie Walsh was able to see the growth that he made, and he made a trade and got Jermaine out of Portland, and Jermaine had a big career in Indiana. So, yeah, I think that would be at least in my opinion, I think that would be his ceiling as Jermaine
I think
O'Neal.
You're right. I think you're right. That's a good spot for him. I think, Jermaine. I mean, I think he's definitely very close to the Hall of Fame. Yeah. That's not a knock on not a knock on the Hall of Fame, but just how good he is, dog on defense, and he was a guy that worked. Rasheed was amazing in Portland. He's so underrated back in those days in like 99, 2000, right there. But it was. I think a lot of his like a Ben Wallace thing. He was coming out there, and I think, it's a little different. But the coach up in Detroit, who's coaching at the time?
Larry Brown.
Yeah. But he kind of saw that in him, and he had to swing it for him. And the trade looked better. The trade looked better for the Wizards back then, but we saw when the deal getting Ben Wallace. Nobody ever saw that.
Nah, nobody. All right, number 3, you have Deni Avdija as your number 3 prospect on your big board. What do you like about Deni?
So I think Deni is he's a good mix of everything. I like that he tries hard on defense. To why he's not the best at it. He tries, and he's got good enough tools for it. He's just got good size. He's got nice bulk. I think compared to a lot of other guys, at the age. But no, he's got a nice mix of a solid jumper. He can kind of finish. He's pretty solid from what I've seen. He's very good. He's a good rebounder. He likes. He works on that, and I think he's got a good motor. He can kind of play make. So I like that aspect of him. I do think from what I've seen, he's a little bit. I don't think he's going to be day one. He's going to be like that sharpshooting playmaker that a lot of people think he is. But I think potential and motor right there.
Yeah. So I think, and this is a weird class in a sense, because outside of Deni, the other prospects are going to end up with like close to 8 months of not playing competitive basketball. So luckily for
Yeah.
him, he had an opportunity to, to play this summer as Israel completed their season. So, like I said, other guys, the season ended in March, and as of now, the NBA is not going to start until Christmas. So that's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's right.
inactivity. So I think a lot of guys have plenty of time to address their needs or their weaknesses. And so I know, like, unlike the other prospects, Deni is actually in the States right now working out. A lot of the
Oh
guys
yeah,
in the
I think I heard
draft,
about that.
yeah, I think he's in Atlanta. All the other guys in the draft from Europe are back with their teams. So at least they're playing. So I said all that to say this: he's going to have a fairly significant amount of time to put in the work on this jumper. And everything I've heard or read about him says that he's a worker and that he
Definitely.
puts in the work. So, I mean, we'll see once the
Yeah,
season
we will.
starts or whatever. But he, like everybody in this draft, I mean, you had almost two, if you combine like the months of a regular offseason, it's almost like everybody has two off seasons in
Oh, I
one
know.
year to just work on areas that they need to improve on. So if his work ethic is like I've been hearing, then the jumper should be, I wouldn't say
Yeah,
fixed, but it should be a lot better than
yeah,
than we've seen. But the free throw shooting is, to me, is the biggest concern because he's such a aggressive slasher, and if he's a 55% free throw shooter, I just wonder how effective will he be late in
yeah.
games
And
because
that's a great point. I love a guy who's gonna work. I mean, you just gotta when we're drafting these guys. I know teams, they just have to find a guy. You have to find a good mix between potential and motor. You don't want to draft the guy who's got nothing in him. You don't want to draft a guy who has no skills. I mean, you got to find that mix. And I think especially like talking about with the workouts, with the draft getting pushed back and with all this uncertainty, we're gonna when that draft comes on TV or when you're sitting at the table at at draft night, I mean, you're gonna be shocked. Like I was
yeah.
kind of shocked last year. I mean, I thought like guys like Nasir Little and Bobo and there's so many guys that slipped, and you saw Cam Johnson get drafted in the lottery, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And there was
Well,
and Jordan Poole. Yeah,
to me that
there's
goes well in the case of Little and who'd you say, Little and
Bowl. Yeah,
Bo, you're going with production over potential. To
yeah.
see that Cam Johnson got picked over him, I mean, I was shocked, but I mean, I just think in that case the
You know how old
production
Cam
was.
Johnson is? What was he? 20? I thought he was almost 23, if not 23, when they got
Yeah,
drafted.
yeah, him and Buddy Hield are gonna be like the only guys in recent memory to be like 28 when their second contract starts. So,
Yeah, that's
um,
insane.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think, yeah. Well, I said this. I was shocked to see him go high, but at the end of the day, he was a specialist. So maybe a Desmond
Yeah, that's
Bain could
true.
end up in the same situation.
Oh yeah,
Same.
I
I
mean,
mean, he's a senior also. He is a shooter. He's not as big as Cam Johnson, but you
yeah.
never know. I mean, that's a good point.
Cam had the bankable skill. He knew he was going to be able to hit those threes, and he's a stretch forward. I mean, that's what it is at the end of the day. But I just thought, PJ Washington is kind of in the same boat. And you just got to think like, how far are they apart? Obviously he's got youth on him, but like, think about that.
Yeah, I think it kind of boils down to like reputation.
Hmm.
PJ didn't have the reputation as a shooter,
Yeah.
and he's definitely put in the work. Shout out to PJ and
Oh yeah.
his trainer Tim Martin. I've known those guys for a little while
All
from,
right.
because they live in the Dallas area. But yeah, PJ never had the reputation as a shooter. Even like coming up the ranks, he was always a guy that was a powerful finisher around the rim.
He was a beast inside. He's
Yeah,
so
and
strong. He's so strong.
he wasn't a really good shooter his freshman year from three, and
Hmm.
then his sophomore year he improved a lot, but he proved big time going into his rookie
First
year.
game.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he's going to change the narrative about how people view him because he's definitely someone that I would consider a shooter.
Yeah.
So
I
my
agree. I
my
mean, I agree.
my question for you on Deni is, what do you think his ceiling is? If you had to
His
compare him
ceiling,
to somebody, who do you think he compares to?
I think his ceiling is a lot lower than a lot of people up in this draft. Um, that's a tough call right there.
It is.
Tough call.
Yeah,
I don't know. Why
I
don't
don't
you
know
tell?
who
I don't
I
know. I
don't
don't
know
know.
who I would compare him to, but I think that he does have. It's such a bad thing, but he does have some Luka in him in a sense. I don't think he's going to
Yeah.
be the primary like Luka, but he does provide like that versatility. If he can be half of Luka, so half
Mm-hmm.
in his sophomore year, that puts him at like 15, 4-4. And I think a team would be fine with that.
Yeah, I think he could become like I don't know if this might be a little bit of a stretch, but kind of like a Sean Marion, you know, like a guy who surprises you when he hits those big shots. Like, I mean, Sean Marion could hit big threes all game, but he's gonna clamp and he's gonna rebound, you know. And
There's
I
only
think that
one Sean Marion.
I
We'll
think
never
you're so
find a
you're
six
right.
seven
You're
guy
right.
average 12 rebounds a game and black.
Yeah,
I mean, without the ball handling. I don't know
yeah,
if he'll
okay,
be
I
the
agree. No, I mean,
Sean Marion
I
was ahead
think
of his
if he can
time.
become a shade, and
Yeah.
Sean is, you know, he's super underrated. But I think he kind of has he shades of that. If he can become, I don't think he could be up there as good as Sean Marion was, but overall, without the peak, you know, it's not too bad of a comparison for a career. I don't think so.
No, not at all. Sean's a
Okay.
borderline Hall of Famer. All right, number 4, Onyeka Okongwu.
Yes. So I heard some people calling him the modern Bill Russell. What do you think about
Oh
that?
Lord. Bill Russell has zero offensive skill. You look at his stats, he shot like, I don't know, like low 40s%
Yeah.
from the floor. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm way too young to watch Bill Russell. I can't even sit here and say that I saw
Mm-hmm.
him play. I mean, I know about the rings. I know about, he was a monster on defense, but I'm just not watching anybody's black and white footage. I mean, they told me Bob Cousy
Yeah,
was
it's
nice.
tough. I mean, I haven't done.
Bob
Yeah, I
Cousy
haven't. I
couldn't
mean, I
bring the
haven't
ball up
done
court
too
today.
much.
So,
I
but
mean, you're right.
yeah, I mean, Bob Cousy couldn't dribble with his left hand, but they told me he was nice. So anything in that black and white footage, I'm not believing it. So,
That's a good point. That's funny.
um, but no, Okongwu, I like him. So who? Well, I think that he might be the safest pick in this draft. I'll say that much.
I think you're right. I mean, I think worst case scenario, you know, he has the Bill Russell offense. He just has nothing.
Oh, I
Yeah.
disagree. He has touch. I think I like the fact that he can shoot with both
Okay.
hands. He has good touch around the
That's true.
rim. He has a nice spin move that he uses. He has a nice counter
Mm-hmm.
move. Um, yeah, I think his offense is going to be good. And we didn't get a chance to see him operate in space when he was at USC. They played
Yeah,
with
you're
two
right.
bigs and he didn't have a point guard. So I think offensively he's going to be really
All right.
good.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you know, I love a good debate. I do think he's a little bit. I think he's a kind of fairly raw on that end. I just think he brings a lot of heart to the game, and I love that. You know, he just when you watch him play, he gives it all. So when he's undersized, he's so strong, he's so athletic, and he's just gonna he's gonna go for the awards. He's gonna fight. He's a fighter, and I think that's a guy who can win basketball games. You know, I feel like he's a guy who's gonna accept his role. You know, no one have heard from him about him, and I think he's a guy that's gonna contribute to winning basketball games.
All right, what is his ceiling? And where do you think would be a good fit for him?
A good fit for him, I think. You know, I've heard the Warriors they probably won't draft him. I don't know. I don't think I can say that, but I think that'd be, you know, that's a winning culture there. You know, a guy like Draymond, I think it'd be so cool to see those guys side by side. You know,
Yeah.
I would love that. But so I think that's a good spot for him. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like he can go anywhere. Truthfully, um, you know, I wouldn't want to put him in a place, um, like somewhere where he's going to be, you know, he's not going to be able to operate in space. Wouldn't want that for him, you know, because I think he'd be a lot more than he was at USC. But I think that he's kind of going to be a guy who can play his role, and not that he can't be great, not that he's going to end up as a role player, but he's a guy who's going to play his role. He's going to do what he's good at,
Right.
and yeah,
All
that's what I
right,
think.
down to number 5, and I'm with my guest Payne Sisson. He is going over his big board. At number 5, you have Okongwu's teammate, a high school teammate.
Yeah, high school teammate.
Who would have ever thought 5 years ago Okongwu would be considered even, equal, or even a better prospect than LaMelo
I
Ball?
know. I know. That's. I mean, I don't even think you could. I think you really had to be like an amazing scout. Watching those games, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can say I kind of. I mean, they were fun to watch, and I feel like you get caught up in all of that, but you got to. I mean, you really had to study him to see how good he'd be, and I never thought it.
Yep.
But
So
no,
you got LaMelo number 5 on your list.
mm-hmm.
Why, in your opinion, which is obviously you're giving, why do you have LaMelo 5 when a lot of people have him number 1 or number 2 on their boards? And what do you think his best case scenario is as a player?
I think that he's got I think he's got like less motor than many. I mean, I don't know if how many players I've seen with as little as motors he has from what I know. That's what I think. I just think, you know, I know that he had to very high usage up in out in Australia, but I think that I don't like his form necessarily. I don't like his play style. I don't know how good he's going to be on offense, and I don't know if he's going to be anything at all on defense. To think about that, he just becomes a pure playmaker, and this is something I've said a lot. I said he's going to be. He could easily be have the career of Ricky Rubio. Like right now. So he gets slotted. Ricky Rubio is slotted next to Booker. They want that. That's the reason he's in Phoenix. To set up that guy, and
Mm-hmm.
Devin Booker's taken a solid leap this year, and I think that that's LaMelo could easily be that guy. That's not best case, but I think that he could become that guy.
Which, a lot of people are down on Rubio. They say that, oh, he was a bust. And I feel like his hype was somewhat pushed because when he was like, I don't know, 16 or 17, I forgot how old he was to be exact, but they saw him in the 2008 Olympics as a teenager playing for
Mm-hmm.
Spain. And yeah, I mean, there were a couple guys ahead of him that were hurt. And that just kind of pushed this Rubio hype. And so I have a few friends that argue it all the time. They consider him a bust. And I'm like, no, I can't consider him a bust simply because I'm guessing he's in year 10 right now. And I know he didn't come right away, but let's say he is in year 10. He's a 10-year starter. It's very tough to be a 10-year starter in the NBA. And I think going into
Yeah.
next year, he'll be the starter. Maybe after that. So if he ends up being a 12-year starter in the NBA, then he had a solid career. He doesn't have a lot of playoff success, which you get stuck in Minnesota the majority of your career. You're not going to have a lot
Yeah.
of playoff wins or opportunities. But yeah, I mean, if LaMelo ends up being a 6'8" Ricky Rubio, I think fans would generally look at that as somewhat of a disappointment because of the hype surrounding him. But overall, for him, that means he had a good career. That means he was a longtime starter
Yeah.
and he made a lot of money. And so, yeah, I mean, I think if he
Sure did.
doesn't improve as a shooter or a defender, then he could end up being a guy that just becomes like a very good starter or high level starter on a team. But the
Yeah.
fans are expecting superstar.
Oh, I know they
So,
expect him to be a knockdown shooter, and I doubt that. And I say this with no holding back right here that I think that he's not going to be, he's not going to be your all rookie guy this when he gets drafted. He's not going to be. I think he's going to be pretty bad as a shooter, pretty hectic. I think it's going to take some serious time for adjustment there, and that's just what I mean. Mark my words on that one, but that's just what I think is going to happen. Talking about Rubio, he had some really terrible injuries, and we're in the second half of his career, and he's not. He was like an almost. I thought he was easily like an all defensive guy back in the day. He was just. I mean, he was just that good on defense, and his offense wasn't always there. He could solid finisher, but he's just not very athletic. But I think that a lot of people like to focus on him in the second half of his career after those injuries. And Pete Rubio was a great player, great defender, and playmaking hasn't really, and injuries won't really take that away too much. But his athleticism is basically shot now.
yeah, I mean, I think if it's when it's all said and done, and maybe even right now, and off the top of my head, I don't know for sure, but I think he may be at least top 15 in career assists per game, and that's not bad, especially for a point guard. I think that Rubio is a much better defender than LaMelo. I think LaMelo can work on his shooting, but it's the defense that concerns me. It's the lack of
certainly.
defense. And
it's very concerning.
Especially, it's going to be tough if you have your first line of defense is your point guard, and you have a really, really bad defender as a point guard. It just kind of puts so much pressure on your defense. For example, Atlanta Hawks. But Melo has the size to be a multi-positional defender, and he does have good instincts on offense. It's just a matter of effort. And I've said it over and over again, what he does have that you can't teach is that creativity. Man, that guy can pass. And I mentioned it on a previous podcast, is that when I took another deep dive into his stats in this video, surprisingly, he didn't turn the ball over. He only averaged about 2 turnovers a game, under 3 turnovers a game. Yeah. And he had a high usage, like you mentioned, and he took care of the ball. But if you consider his bad shots, turnovers, when he takes a pull-up 3 early in the shot clock and it misses long and turns into a fast break opportunity for the other team, then that could be considered a turnover. But just on paper alone, he took care of the ball.
Yeah, he's gonna need the land in the right place, or else he's seriously gonna be current Ricky Rubio. And there's that's like you said, that's a solid career, but I think if I'm drafting a guy at 5, I want him to be better than that. But I think that the playmaking, it's there, and it shocked me a little bit what you're saying about the turnovers. Obviously, you got to consider the shooting a little bit of a turnover, those bad shots, but nevertheless, can't be taught, and that's why he's top. That's why he's top 5 for me. That's why he's at number 5.
All right, now where do you think is the best fit for him team-wise?
The best fit for him team-wise, I think I don't know about the Warriors. A lot of people say that. I think the culture and the coaching is going to help him. Fit. You're right. I just think who else could draft him? What's the lottery? Timberwolves. Come on down.
Timberwolves 1, Warriors 2, Charlotte 3,
Hornets, Bulls. So I think the best case would be him to seriously fall. I'm scared for him to be drafted at 5, to be drafted in the top 5 and be drafted in the top 6, top 8 right there, that range. Just because none of these coaches are,
it's gonna be interesting.
Blow him out of the way. He needs to get a coach and franchise. It's gonna just to knock out of the park franchise, knock out of the park coach. Somebody's gonna really help him.
Outside of the Warriors, you don't have that.
So obviously,
these teams are here for a reason. All right, moving down to number 6, you have Killian Hayes. Yes. See, I have Hayes over LaMelo as far as my big board. I think LaMelo is going to be drafted over him because I think that it's going to be some outside factors that are going to make sure LaMelo goes high. But then again, I could be wrong. It could be the opposite. It could be, a team saying he's a young kid. Yeah, we like his talent, but it's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure on this kid and just all the media attention that could go along with it. So I could see him falling, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him go high because a team trades up for him. This draft is so unpredictable. But in my opinion, if I were in charge of a team, I'm taking Killian over LaMelo because I think Killian plays both sides of the ball. He's not as great of a passer, but he's a very, very, very good passer. And Killian is, I think his upside as a shooter is better because he shot a very high percentage from the free throw line. I think
I remember that.
He, he has some creativity as a scorer. He was a very good finisher in Europe last year. But he does have some concerns. His team didn't win also, just like LaMelo's. Yeah. Very, very left-hand dominant. And,
that was important to me, the dominance of the hands. That was And I think, I mean, you're making good points. I think that they're very, very, very close prospects, and you could easily flip them for me.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with you on that. I just think, there's obviously going to be concerns for both guys. I mean, these guys are all 17, 18, for the most part, going to be drafted this side. So I mean, it's not 17, but they're 19 right there, very young. Just it's tough in general, but I think Killian Hayes is very intriguing. I like him as a scorer. I feel like, I mean, he's a solid defender. I think that he's not great, but he puts some good effort there. He's obviously a good playmaker. Good
Yeah.
passer.
So what do you think would be a good fit for him?
A good fit for him. I feel like if, I don't know. I mean, the Hornets. I don't know. I feel like the Bulls could be a good for him.
Yeah, I think Chicago would be a good fit. He would balance out White and Levine. I think Detroit would be a good fit. He can learn from Derrick Rose for a year.
Yeah,
he can team up with Sekou, his buddy from France.
Yeah.
I mean, Cleveland could use some balance with him, and he provides some size in their backcourt. I don't know if they would take him at 5. Some people think Atlanta would be a decent fit. You would give Trey another ball handler. I don't know if they would be able to play together in a sense. I don't know. I mean, it could work out. But yeah, I like Killian. I mean, I really like him a lot.
I like him. I'm not scared for where he goes. As nearly as much as Ball. So I mean, yeah, they're pretty much flippable. So that's I like what you said about that.
All right, moving down to number 7, Obi Toppin. Now,
Obi Toppin.
I think Obi is the most NBA ready prospect in this draft. I've been on record of saying I think he's rookie of the year, no matter where he goes.
You're right. Yeah, I think you're right.
Because if he goes to a bad team, which obviously he probably will because he's in the lottery, he's going to be able to come in and contribute right away. Just stuff because he's that good on the offensive end. But if he were an average defender, then he'd probably be a no-brainer for the number 1 pick in this draft.
Oh yeah, you're right.
But he's not, and there are concerns about his defense. But who do you compare him to? So when I look at Obi, I see somewhat of a poor man's Amari Stoudemire.
All right. Yeah, I like that. I think Amari, I think he's a guy who's, if he doesn't block it, he's not going to stop it,
Yeah.
And that's a funny way to say it, but I mean,
Mitchell Robinson and Hassan Whiteside.
Hassan Whiteside. That's a killer there, right? I heard people say that they think he's one of the worst defenders in the league, just because he gives up so many easy looks at the rim because he loves he's going for the stats all day.
He chases blocks, but yeah, I think I mean I wouldn't say Obi's on the level as Whiteside.
Oh no, definitely not
as a rim protector. But yeah, I think like if I just see like a poor man's Amari Stoudemire.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
So what do you think would be a good fit for Obi? Like on my mock, the last one I did, I had him going to the Knicks, even though they have a lot of power forwards.
Yeah.
I think that he's just ready to come in right now and play and compete. And yeah, man, I like him. I think that his fit is going to be interesting because I've seen people say they want him to go to Chicago. I think that at Chicago, I still believe in Laurie and Wendell Carter front court. So in my opinion, I don't think that's a good fit. Charlotte could be a good fit if they decide to play PJ at the 5, which I think he can play the 5. Cleveland would be – I don't know if Cleveland would be the best fit because I don't think he's going to start over Love right away. I think Love gets moved, but who's going to get him the ball in Cleveland because their guards aren't – they're letting it fly first, and you can say the same thing about Chicago. I mean, New York doesn't really have a point guard per se. I mean, they have 3 on the roster, but everybody's expecting somewhat of an upgrade. So yeah, I mean, it would be interesting. I think like Phoenix would be fun to see him in Phoenix.
Oh my gosh, that'd be fun.
That
Yeah,
that would be
certainly.
fun. Washington would be fun. I mean, if he goes to Washington, it's just like, you know what, forget defense. We're just going
Forget
all
defense.
out. We're
All
going for
out.
130 a game. Like, so that would be fun. But so in your opinion, where do you think would be a good fit for Obi Toppin?
I think that if he could, so if the Hawks decided to ship out John Collins, which I think they should, because he thinks he's max money and he's not. I mean, he does have historical stats if you go back and look at it. What he's putting up in the box score, but I mean, I think you could easily take this guy. I mean, they're very similar, the way they play, the way they defend too. But I think you take one out and you bring him back in, basically the same guy. I think that wouldn't be too bad. I think the Cavs put him in the Cavs would not be great, but I think that if he could get a good mix of he could learn to play better defense from Drummond, who's obviously been a good defender in his past, still is all right. And if he could improve that 3-point shooting, Love's obviously declined on that end. I think a lot more people will see, but those guys be good mentors if Love wasn't so disgruntled.
Yeah, I mean, I think Love's percentages would go up if he had a point guard. I mean, if he's catching bombs at the end of the shot clock and he has to throw up something, I just think that he's over Cleveland. No matter what he says, it just looks like he's over that situation, which I can imagine is tough. You go from playing with LeBron and competing for championships and playing in the finals every year to rebuilding with two shoot first guards who, like most young players, like winning is important, but the main thing is solidifying yourself and your reputation as a player and putting yourself in position to get your next contract. And I think that's what's going on in Cleveland, which is, understandable.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do, right?
Yep. So who do you have at, well, I shouldn't say who do you have. I already know the answer. I got it right here. Kyra Lewis at number 8, which is good. I like Kyra a lot. He's going to be the biggest riser on my next mock. What do you love about Kyra's game?
Kyra, I don't know how good of a comparison is, but honestly, I'm a Kentucky fan, so I mean, I kind of see a little bit of John Wall in him. He's just crazy fast and crazy athletic.
I thought you were gonna say De'Aaron Fox, but speed. Those are the three things.
Those guys, all three of those guys, Wall, Fox, and Kyra Lewis. They're all very similar. They're so fast and so athletic. But I think he brings a nice edge to the defense. I think he'll be better than that. I think he can easily be all defensive guy. That's just what I see in him. I like him. I think he's got a nice shot IQ. Obviously, Alabama, the lack of success there in the SEC was definitely challenging to have him at 8. But I think that I think his playmaking's there. I really like him, man. I see a lot of people have him a lot lower, and I'm really high on him.
Yeah, I mean, he's like, for me, I think where I have him now, my latest mock is 15. I'll definitely be moving him up.
Yeah.
But, like I've said on other podcasts, moving a player up right now is based off of absolutely nothing, just overanalyzing.
Yeah,
we've had too much time to watch these prospects. He's not moving up because somebody's moving down based off of poor games or poor intel or anything like that, because I don't really know any of that right now. But just watching his film a little bit more and seeing like the pressure that speed puts on defenses, especially in the playoffs. You see a guy like, you see a guy like Trey Burke, for example, who was in and out the league, but you put him on a team where there was floor spacers, and his speed just put a lot of pressure on the defense. And then, so yeah, like I said, I have him moving up my mock. I think like New York would be a good situation for him at 8, even though they had. New York's at 7, even though they had. Are they at 8?
Let's see. Yes, they're at 8. They're at 8, right?
Yeah, too early in the morning for me. But yeah, I think that New York would be a good fit for him, even though they have 3 point guards on the roster that are still under contract for next year.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind seeing him, and Phoenix would be pretty cool to see him in Phoenix.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
don't know if I like Phoenix as much as New York, but yeah, you're right. I think it'd be cool. I just think I think he might need his own show kind of deal. You know,
gotta
I
earn it.
think yeah, you're right. But you're right. But I love the New York. I love that for him.
All right, let's go to number 9, Isaac
Number 9.
Okoro.
So I was really high on Okoro coming into the season, you know, throughout the season for NCAA basketball. But I just, you know, going back and looking at it, I don't know. There's just a lot of question marks there. Overall, I don't. I mean, he's a really good defender, but I just think that he's limited outside of that, and the way he plays to an aspect.
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think that Lugens Dort might have helped him some,
Mm-hmm.
because Lugens showed how a physical defender that is active, that moves his feet, that fights through screens, how valuable he can be.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, obviously, Okoro's biggest issue is the shooting. If he's put in the work, like I said earlier, he has 8 months to improve his shot. If he's not shooting 300 corner threes, or shouldn't even say shooting, if he's not making 200 to 300 corner threes every day, then what is he doing? I just think for him, everything that he does will be opened up by him becoming a better shooter. If he can just become an average shooter, league average, about 34, 35, 36% from three, he becomes a big time weapon. He becomes a high level starter on a good team. So I just think, like I said, his shooting opens up everything. I think he's a good playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he has pretty good vision, and he's the specialist on defense. But it's always going to depend on his shooting. But I like him a lot. I think that Atlanta needs him. I think like a team like Washington could use him. I would just buy into him becoming a better shooter.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think he had a pretty nice mid-range game. I think so. From what I saw,
he's not a confident shooter at all, in my opinion.
The confidence is lacking. But yeah, you're right. I just think his ball handling was lacking at times. His decision making with the passing, that was lacking. That worries me a little bit. But I think Washington would be an all right fit, and Atlanta's not bad. A little bit closer to home, right?
Yeah, hometown kid. All right, let's go down to number 10, Patrick Williams from Florida State.
So
what do you like about Pat Will?
I like Patrick Williams, man. I think he's got a good blend of everything. I think he's got all around game. His lowest parts is going to be his ball handling and his playmaking, but he's not a point guard. But he's got the whole 9 yards. I mean, he can shoot. I really like projecting him as an NBA shooter. I think he's a pretty good rebounder. He plays nice defense. He's got nice tools to become a great defender, and I think he can be an athletic 3-and-D guy.
I think his long-term potential as a 4. I think that he can play both positions, but I think that long-term, if he's a 4,
agree with you there. Yeah,
and
as a 4,
can also become a 35-36% shooter. It opens things up. I mean, if he ends up being a better shooter than that, great. But I think that his value would be as a switchy defender that can knock down shots. He's athletic, and he can get to his pull-up. So I like him. I mentioned before that when I first saw him last summer, I just didn't really see it. And
I remember you talking about that. Yep.
Yeah, he's now I do see it. I mean, I think that he stays within himself, and he's a guy that you just kind of know what you're going to be able to get. That he should be able to, like I said, defend multiple positions, and you just got to hope that he can knock down corner threes, which he has the shooting touch to do it. So I think he's I think he's a solid prospect. So where do you think would be the best fit for him?
The best fit for him, I think I think if he fell, the Celtics would not be bad. That would not be a bad fit. I mean, I don't think they need, they don't need too many more wings or,
Right.
forward, combo forwards. But I don't think that'd be too bad. I think Detroit could be nice for him.
Detroit.
I just don't
Okay.
think he'll go that high. But
See, I don't know about Detroit because I think unless it depends on what position you see Sekou as. I think Sekou is going to be a 4.
okay,
Obviously, Blake isn't going anywhere with that massive contract.
yeah, that's true. I think they like Blake. That's
So
true.
he should
I
play
think,
center,
yeah,
but
you're
I mean,
right.
I think Christian Wood should be their number one priority this off season. I mean, Detroit, they need to just do a total rebuild, the Blake Griffin situation. Even though he was All NBA, not last year but the year
Year
before,
before.
I think they thought he would generate ticket sales and bring us some revenue. But
Yeah, he said I'm very sad the way this is going with Blake Griffin. That's all I'll say. With there, it's
yeah,
I mean,
he's still. I mean,
he can shoot now, but
yeah, he's like I mean, that last season here in Detroit, he was knocking down shots, playmaker. Man, I just hope that I really hope that he can stay healthy and just finish out his career strong because, man, what a tremendous talent and
oh, I know. I mean,
borderline Hall of Fame career also,
yeah,
just
I
because of
mean,
his accolades.
yeah, I mean, I think he's very lacking on defense now, and the way he plays is not necessarily the best. I mean, I'm not gonna blame him because he's in Detroit, but he's not a guy who's gonna win basketball games.
Okay, so number 11.
Tyrese Haliburton is who I had there. Yeah. So I
So what do
mean,
you think would be a good fit for him?
I think a good fit for Tyrese. I think I feel like he's a really guy who does not need or does not want necessarily the spotlight. I don't like him being the number one guy or maybe not even being the 2. So I think the Hawks could be an intriguing fit for him. That they like guys that can hit the open 3, and I think he'll be that. I don't think he's going to be like a crazy knockdown shooter, like a lot of people like to say. I just think I'm not knocking his form. We see Jaren Jackson Jr. with that awful form, but he still hits shots.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna discount him there. I just don't think he's gonna be. I don't think he's got so high potential as a knockdown shooter.
Yeah, he shot 40% both years. I mean, if he's not going to be a knockdown shooter, then what is he going to be?
I mean, I don't think I've seen a lot of people say he's going to be like a more of a scorer than he is. I think he's going to be able to hit the open 3. I just don't know how far he can go with that. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
yeah, I agree with you. And I think his defense is there. He's got great size. He's got great length. Got
a little light in the pants though.
Yeah.
So I think that limits what the number of positions he can guard. Because even though
small,
he does have
so skinny.
Yeah, think of like a Paul George, just moving him to his sweet spots and just getting over the top of him. And I mean, someone mentioned to me, and I never thought of it like that. There's like, he's been in college 2 years. In 2 years of a college weight training program, he hasn't really
done basically anything.
Yeah, put on much strength, and so they're concerned like long term.
Oh yeah.
Even though it's still only 2 years, and he is young. I mean, he is young for his class. So it just depends on how you look at that. You can look at that as the glass half full or half empty.
You're right.
But yeah, like he's kind of dropping a little bit for me because I think he's more of a connective piece. He goes into the right situation. He's gonna be
that's
like
what I was saying. Yeah,
maybe a starter, but just a guy that you can kind of fit in and play with anybody because of his versatility.
Yeah.
But now that I think about it, so if I had to choose between him and Cole Anthony and say who has the higher upside,
that's
or if
true.
I had a game 7 and I had to choose between him or, like I said, Cole Anthony or RJ Hampton or Tyrese Maxey,
yeah,
who would I think?
Tyrese.
Yeah, so
right.
So it depends though, but he could be a guy that he ends up being a better team player. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like he
that's what
fits
I think.
into
I
a
think he's
team and a
got that.
system.
I think he's got that inner, that's him. He's just a team guy. I think he got red flags with the weight, over those years, over those 2 years. He's just so small, and I think, Iowa State wasn't great. No, I mean, obviously he had the injuries. He was out, and they didn't play as well without him. But I think that, yeah, I mean, I think he could go lower. I think you're right about that. I just think, I mean, he's a heck of a passer too. So don't,
Yeah,
can't
yeah, he can
discount him
definitely
there.
pass
And
and
like,
good
we
ball
like the
movement.
size, like the height.
All right, now this is coming up at number 12. This is the biggest mover,
Mm-hmm. Theo
Theo
Maledon.
Maledon. So why do you have him at number 12, and what do you like about him?
I think he's just he's a nice shot maker from what I've seen, and I like him. I'm locked in on him for that for him to bring that to the NBA. So I think he's kind of. I want to hear what you have to say about him first. Let me give you that.
I think he's a floor general. I think he's
Mm-hmm.
a game manager. So I think that he does have the versatility to where he can defend multiple positions. He does have advanced skill set as far as like running the pick and roll. He's won in France. But I still see him as a guy that's going to come in and manage the game.
Mm-hmm.
And, he may not hurt the team when he's in, and he may not
Help it too much.
help it too much. He's just going to be
Yeah.
steady, manage
Yeah.
the game. I think in today's NBA, you kind of want like your lead guard to be able to take over games if needed, have like this
He's not that guy.
dog mentality. You think about your Damian Lillards, your Chris Pauls, or your Westbrooks, or your Kimbas and Dragic. Even there's a lot of those guys who are late in games, especially in the playoffs. You want your point guard to be that dog, unless you have a tremendous wing player, like a Kawhi or a Paul George, or where your point guard can just basically set up the offense and defend like the old school NBA. So
Oh
to
yeah,
me, it
for
just
sure.
depends on fit. Like if you pair him with a big time scoring wing, that's going to be a primary ball handler, and not necessarily the primary ball handler,
I
but a
like
guy that's
Maledon's gonna be a ball handler. Yeah.
yeah. But I think I believe he has the potential to knock down shots. But
Mm-hmm.
if you pair him next to, let's say, like a Devin Booker, right? And Booker's gonna, be the feature guy, but Maledon is the guy that defends the other
Mm-hmm.
team's best wing. He doesn't turn the ball over. He knocks down open shots. He gets them in their offense. Then I think that's fine. But if he's not next to one of those guys, I don't know. I mean, I just think that he's a floor general. I don't see him being a dynamic point
I
guard that
agree.
is the
Yes.
engine of a team. And it's
I,
just a
I
matter
think
of choice at this
mhm.
point.
I think it's perfect words right there. He's not dynamic. He's not going to be the engine. And I think he's hard. He's a hard nosed defender. I like that. I think you're right. He's going to control the game, but not necessarily with shot making. Although I really like that for him, and that's why I have him so high. That's why I have him high. So.
Yeah, I mean, you when people compare European players, the guys that, in my opinion, are successful coming to the NBA are guys that actually played. There's quite a few guys that didn't get much playing time on their senior team, and they averaged like 2 minutes a game, but then they were drafted in the NBA based off of how they played in the, like the juniors and the world
Yeah,
championships and all
circuits.
that. While he actually played, and I mean, he won a championship. Not last, it's still confusing saying this year, last year, even though this year
Yeah,
or whatever. But he won. Uh, was it the 2018-19 season? He won the
I think
French
that's right.
league,
Yeah.
and then this year last year, I'm so confused. They went up to the Euro League, and then he dealt with some injuries. But he has played. He does have probably more game experience, high level game experience than anybody else in this class.
Yeah.
which says something. Like I said, I just think that at the end of the day, he's going to be a good game manager, floor general, not
Mhm.
necessarily an engine that which is the same for Haliburton. I don't
Yeah.
think
Oh yeah.
Haliburton is going to be the engine that runs the offense either. So
All
all
right.
right, so now we are down
13.
to 13.
So Nesmith. So man, Nesmith comes from my good old state here in South Carolina, but you know, obviously, what Vanderbilt was just terrible.
Yeah.
And Nesmith, he got injured.
Yeah, he was there.
So I mean that's not his fault. And I didn't think they were not bad when he was playing. I just think he's not going to be the guy. He's not going to be the guy on a team, at least for a while. But I think that he's a little lacking on the defensive end, but he's got nice tools. He's got a good wingspan. He's got great wingspan. And I think to be able to, most guys, it's tougher to shoot when you have such a huge wingspan. But if he can do that, it's a bonus. And I think he's going to be. I know that his shooting percentages are so high over a small portion of games, but I really think that he's got nice potential from there. He's got that form, and I think he knows his role, and I think if he can, knowing the kind of guy that he is, I think he can step out of that role and become bigger, and he can really become a player. So I think he could easily be a steal at this spot.
Yeah, man, I think he's going to be a specialist, and there's shooting is so valued in today's NBA.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
love to see him go to a team like Dallas. Just go all in. Give
Yeah.
Luka another weapon, and I mean that would be fun to watch. The best offense in NBA history as far as like rating
Yeah.
wise. You give
Proficiency.
them another knockdown shooter, a guy that shot 50% from three last year, and that can shoot off movement too. Man, that would be really, really fun to watch, in my
Oh,
opinion.
I know. I mean, I think maybe a place like Phoenix could be all right for him too. He could play the three, and that'd be pretty nice for him too. I'm
Yeah.
not high on Oubre there, so I mean,
I think he's
why
gone.
not?
And I
What'd
mean,
you
they
say?
play better. Well, I think Oubre's gone.
Yeah,
And,
you're right.
he has a short contract. I think that.
They like him in Phoenix, though. I know they like him a lot.
Well, they played their best basketball without him in the bubble.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, though.
And
Yeah.
the ball moved a little better. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, I like Nesmith too. Like I said, I think the Mavs would be good. If he falls, I mean, Portland would be fine with me.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know if
think
he'll fall that far though. But what do you think the biggest difference between Aaron Nesmith and Desmond Bane is? Why is there such a big gap between those two, other than age?
I think they're a little bit different as a player. I think Desmond Bane, I see him stepping out of his role more so. Where Nesmith just has the chance. I don't think he will. I think that Bane is a dynamic ball handler. He kind of had the ball in his hands more than Nesmith did, and I think Bane is a really good defender. While or maybe not, he's a good defender. While he just has potential. Nesmith just has potential. So.
All right. So yeah, that's kind of one of my questions. Is I see there's such a big wide gap between those two. All right, your last pick into your lottery.
Yes.
And you have Tyrese Maxey. So this is where I want to ask you a couple questions.
Okay.
All right, if you have Tyrese Maxey at 14, are you basing this based off of what you saw in high school and the reputation he had coming into college? Or are you basing it on what you saw from him at Kentucky? I mean, you got a Kentucky shirt on. You've admitted to being a fan.
Yes.
So you might be a little bit biased.
Okay.
Shooting numbers were bad. Off the top of my head, I want to say it's like 25% from three.
Yeah, I mean you're not that far off. I think it's I think you're about right there. But I think yes, his freshman season wasn't great. He played with 3-point guards. Higgins and Quickly. I mean, it's just I feel like he is more of a scoring point. That's kind of what I like him there. But I think he's a tough defender, and he's got a great mix of defense and athleticism. Why he's not going to blow your brains out with his athleticism. He's got hops, and I think he's going to be a good mid-range shooter. He was good from that there in college.
Great
He
touch
hits.
around the basket. That's the thing I
Yes.
like is his
Oh
touch.
yes, it's great.
He
His
knows how to
flip.
put the ball high on the glass and soft touch. Free throw shooting is there.
Yes,
I just,
that's a good point.
I have some concerns because is he a 1 or is he a 2? Or as me and my brother call, he's a 1.5.
He is a tweener there in the guard position. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so I think that his best case scenario is he's going to have to learn how to be a point guard. Like he's going to, because if he doesn't, learn the balance of scoring and running the team and the playmaking, then I think he ends up being stuck as a guy that comes off the bench and kind of brings you energy. And so, yeah, I mean, I just have some questions about what is his long-term position. But I have the same concerns about Cole Anthony for different reasons. But, yeah, I just wonder, what is his long-term position? And is the low shooting numbers, is that just a situation where he just had off year shooting? And is it because he also has a low release on his shot? Did the size and length of college affect his shooting window? Because he came into this season with the reputation as a guy that's a good shooter. I've seen him work out in person. He can't shoot, but for whatever reasons, he was not efficient at all this year from behind the arc.
Yeah. I mean, I really think he's going to improve. You got to take what he was doing before he got to college into a little bit of perspective. I think he's a hard worker, and I know that. I've seen him, and he's going to work hard, and I think he can be a guy who can be maybe the second best guy out of this draft. And I know that's a lot. That's saying a lot, but I mean, I just think he's going to be hard-nosed in defense. He's a good playmaker. He's underrated there, and if he can just bulk up, he could gain. He could figure out his shooting, and he can really. I think he needs to handle the ball a little better. Decision makings could use some improvement.
See, I live in Dallas, and I think R.J. Hampton is a better prospect than Tyrese Maxey.
I think
he's I mean, when they went heads up in high school, RJ got the best of them, and then I mean, that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion, because I think that, I mean, I guess you can say there's concerns for both. But yeah, just with Maxey, I just don't know what position that he plays. And
I see the same thing for RJ. What position did he play? I feel like he's the same kind of swingner.
He's a wing.
You think he's okay?
Yeah, he's a wing. Like, he's a wing that can be your secondary. Like, I don't think you're gonna start him at point at all.
Yeah,
I think you move him at you play him at the 2, but you can run some pick and rolls with him, and I think he's a good enough passer to where he finds the wings. He's good at skip passes, but he just puts tremendous pressure on defenses with his speed, and he gets to the paint, and then he has size. Like, he has the size to be able to defend multiple positions. I think he has a more, like, if I were a developmental guy and if I was a general manager of a team, I think RJ has more of a skill set that I could enhance and hone.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think he's probably more talented. I think that RJ he's a shot maker. I don't see him as being. I think he's not a great defender. I don't think his passing and playmaking element is superior. And it could definitely use improvement. I just think they weren't good. Kentucky was. Now I'm saying this a little bit as a fan, but up there, like what ranked 3. It was
the best fit season for him.
Best fit for Maxey?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I'm sure the experience was dope and all of that, but I just feel like they had too many point guards. And
I mean, definitely.
Who was it that got hurt?
Khalil got hurt, right?
No, I thought one of the guards got
Absolutely.
hurt, and when they were down to 2, they played better. Was the Higgins or quickly missed some time briefly this year?
No, so quickly missed time. Quickly, he got more. He got into a little bit of a uh, feud with coach in
Okay.
practice.
Yeah, I
So
felt
it
like
was yes.
there was just too many. They had too much talent there. You had 3 guys that need the ball
Mm-hmm.
in their hands, and I mean, maybe if we would have had a season, were able to finish the season, we may have seen Kentucky make a deep run. Who knows? But I just felt like it was tough with 3
Mm-hmm.
guys that have somewhat similar skill sets. 3 guys who I think long term need to be point guards
Oh
sharing
yeah.
one basketball.
Oh, I think they're all very. I think they're all very, very different players. They're all point guards, but that's just position. The only thing they have in common is position.
Right. Yeah.
Higgins is athletic. He's a great playmaker. And he's a great athlete, but he can't shoot
Pat
really.
Bev. Pat Bev
Yeah, yeah,
2.0.
yeah. You're right. And then quickly is just
Sniper.
no range. He's got limitless range out here. He's going to score from anywhere. So I mean, I do want to ask you: do you think all 3 of those guys? I know you think Tyrese is going to be drafted in that just to get it.
Yeah,
But
first
do you
round.
think that Quickly and Higgins will both be drafted? And if not, will one of them be drafted?
I got both of them being drafted just
Okay.
because, shooting is so valued in today's NBA. I think Quickly is actually being underrated. I
Okay.
think that
I think you're right. I think so his man defense is good, but it's pretty awful when he gets
team
caught up.
defender. Yeah.
Yeah, as a team defender.
But I just think with his shooting, there's value in shooting and what he could bring to the table. I think he could come in and, I mean, just you put him on a good team and he can come in off the bench and, you got like a ball. Think about like if he went to, I don't know, let's just say the Lakers or Milwaukee or something like that.
All right.
And if they needed to play him in a pinch, he could provide gravity for Giannis or LeBron. And then Higgins, I think that for him, if I were team, I would draft him in the second round and just let him develop in the G League for a while. But he does bring the defensive intensity and intangibles and just work on his shot. If he can be Pat Beverly, that is a 10 to 12 year NBA career. Just hide him in the corner.
Occasionally a starter, yep.
Yeah, hide him in the corner and just, hey, this is what we're working on all summer. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. And then get him in the right fit. I think he can definitely provide a lot of value. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I think all 3 should be drafted. I mean, Kentucky should have. I mean, Nick Richards, I think he should be drafted also.
Okay.
Late second round. I mean, they could have 4 or 5 guys in the draft.
I'll take Nick Richards was a 5-star recruit out of high school, and then he didn't play his freshman year at Kentucky. He sat the bench. Basically all of his time, and it quickly was the same way. Quickly had that crazy leap. SEC Player of the Year, leading Kentucky in scoring in his second year, and both guys were 5 stars. So I just think Richards made the jump too, and he was one of the candidates for SEC Player of the Year. I just think his game is very specialized. He's a paint player, but he's not that great of a defender in the paint.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy
he's not that great of a scorer in the paint.
I just think that he's a guy that needs to go to the G League, go to a team with a really good developmental program, and then he may be able to stick. I mean, Labissiere has somehow found a way to stick in the NBA, and then I thought that the Stockton Kings did a good job with Wenyen Gabriel, as far as like developing him.
You saw him; he played some good minutes.
Yeah,
he played some good minutes in the playoffs. Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, I just think that's what the G League is for, to take these guys that have something that they can bring to the table, and you just kind of enhance it and put them in a situation where they can bring value to an NBA team. So
yeah, you're right. I'm glad. I feel I'm proud of myself for not taking too much bias towards Nick Richards. But no, certainly.
Well, cool, man.
All right.
I thank you for coming on.
Hey,
I
no
know
problem.
we did probably just a little bit around the hour. But yeah, thank you for coming on as a guest. I
All
liked your
right.
insight. I like how you were able to break down your picks. You did send me a full first round, so maybe we can
Mhm.
set up coming on and doing the second half of your big board.
Hey,
And then
sounds
also, like, I
perfect.
plan on doing a mock draft. I mean, I got plenty of time now. They pushed the draft back to like November 18th.
Oh
So
man, I know.
I got plenty of time, but I definitely want to do a big mock draft where
All right.
my goal is a mock draft where I get like 30 guys. And
Yeah.
you know, you each have a team. So some guys are gonna have multiple picks, some guys are gonna have one. I mean, I guess if you're Houston, then you don't have a pick, whatever. But yeah, I would
Mm-hmm.
definitely like to invite you to that. And
Yeah, let's
yeah,
do it.
man, again, thanks for coming on. Thanks
Mm-hmm.
for supporting my channel, watching my channel, and reaching out to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, we'll definitely be in touch. Again, this
All
is
right, let's do
Raphael
it.
Barlow with my guest Payne Sisson. He broke down his top 14 guys on his big board. And so if you're if you're listening to this on Spotify or Apple Music, you can check out the video on YouTube, and vice versa. If you're watching this on YouTube or you see it on your YouTube channel, but you don't have time to watch it, you want to listen to it at work, the NBA Draft Junkies podcast is on Apple and Spotify, or pretty much wherever you can get wherever you get your podcast at. So once again, Payne, thanks for coming on.
Mm-hmm.
It's Raphael with NBA Draft Junkies, and I am out.